Merry Christmas Eve, everyone. Greg Newmaster here. Here is my quick review of Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, the final movie in the Skywalker trilogy. I saw it for the second time last night. I like to see movies twice to really get a feel for them before I review them. So this is it, guys. I liked it. I liked it a lot. I didn't love it. I hated The Last Jedi. I feel like The Last Jedi caused so many problems that J.J. Abrams did the best he could to fix this, to fix the mistakes of the last movie. So it was convoluted and weird, and Disney had just really dropped the ball mostly on these movies. They set up such a great movie with The Force Awakens, even though it was a soft reboot of Star Wars, and a lot of people didn't like that. But they set up cool characters, what could have been a great payoff in these future films, but letting Rian Johnson just be so avant-garde and subversive just really screwed up the narrative to me, and I just hated it. So I like this movie, but I didn't love it. So what did I like? This is the no spoiler part. I liked that it was a fast-paced action-adventure. We get all the characters together and they go on an adventure together. That's great. That's what Star Wars should be. That's what we wanted to see in the last two movies, where Han, Luke, and Leia get together and go on an adventure again and involve their kids, but that didn't happen. But we get it with Finn, Rey, and Poe. And it's awesome this time. It's very, very enjoyable. There's no forced Marvel humor like in The Last Jedi, where it's just too much and it didn't fit. I felt the dialogue was great. It was really funny where Poe was kind of being real bitchy, and Rey and Finn were complaining about him because he was just really aggravated and just being annoyed with him. So I thought that was really funny and good. The pace was good. Critics really complained about that. I don't know why. It started off fast and slowed down a couple times, and I thought it was a good balance. So I don't know what they expect. How about we just don't listen to critics, because they're all jaded. Anyhow, so that's it for spoiler free. So let's get into the spoilers. If you don't want to hear anything, if you didn't see it, turn it off right now. So here's 6 things that I loved. I'm going to try and go fast. Number 1, Chewie fake out. I thought that was crazy. There's a scene where Kylo Ren and Rey square off. Rey uses the Force to stop a ship, and we always wanted to see Luke do that because he was so powerful, but Rey does it instead, and then Kylo does it also, and they kind of wrestle, and then Rey turns to the dark side, and Force lightning comes out, and it blows up the ship, and we think Chewie, who got captured by the First Order, was dead, and it was shocking, it was awesome, but then we find out he wasn't dead. Next thing, the Emperor. I'm mixed with the Emperor. I love that they brought him back, but I didn't like it, but I'll get into that later. But I liked how he was a phantom. He was a spirit. He was this demonic spirit creature, which I thought was awesome, because if Jedi can become Force ghosts, why can't Sith be these scary demons? So they bring the Emperor back, and he's this scary demon creature inhabiting his corpse, which is rotting and decaying, and he has white eyes, and he looks like Bathilda Bagshot, possessed by Nagini the Snake in Harry Potter, and he's on this big arm, and his body's hanging off of it, and I thought it was really cool and creepy, and I enjoyed that idea. Next thing that I liked about the Emperor, my third thing that I liked, was that the Emperor uses, in the big ending space battle, the Emperor is the weapon, which is awesome. And he uses the full power of evil and the Sith. And he uses Force lightning, and it causes like a magnetic pulse, and it shuts down all the ships, and it's awesome. And the Emperor is like this regenerated demonic creature, which I thought was crazy, because I always thought that was a great idea, that and the Emperor does this trick. He brings Rey and Kylo Ren to him, thinking that Rey, because she's a Palpatine, because she's his granddaughter, has to strike him down, and then she's going to become the Empress. But that was actually a trick. What it really is that the Emperor wanted Rey and Kylo Ren because they're this powerful Force dyad one being thing, and he needed a vampire suck their power so he could regenerate himself and resurrect and always be this demonic emperor and always be the emperor. So nobody gets to be the emperor but Emperor Palpatine. So I thought that was really cool. And then he uses the Force lightning and he's this weapon. So that's awesome. Next thing that I loved is that in the end of the movie, there was a couple really emotional moments. This was the final end part of the movie. Rey goes to Tatooine. Some lady comes up to her. She's at Luke's farm. She's like, nobody's been here for so long. What's your name? And she's like, Rey. And then she looks out into the distance, and the Force ghosts of Luke and Leia appear. And then they give her like the head nod, and she says to the lady, "I'm Rey Skywalker." So that was really cool, and it was very emotional. So I really like that moment. Number 5. Oh man, I would have loved to have seen more of this, because this is what I wanted the movies to be about anyhow. We get a montage, a very quick one, of Luke training Leia to be a Jedi, because in the beginning of the movie, Leia is Rey's Jedi Master, and she completes Rey's training, which I thought was really cool. But we get to see Luke train Leia, which was awesome, and they both have lightsabers, and they're fighting, and they have the visors covering their face so that they can't see, and it's really awesome, and they lift the visors up, and you get to see both their young faces, Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, Luke and Leia, even though they were CGI'd. It was awesome. And that was awesome too, is that the Leia stuff really worked. The extra footage that they used from The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi of Carrie Fisher, it worked surprisingly, and I didn't think it would. And not only was she in the beginning of the movie, she was sprinkled throughout the whole movie, which gets to my final favorite thing, is Leia's sacrifice. In the middle of the movie, Rey and Kylo Ren square off on the wreckage of the Death Star, because they're trying to find the Sith holocron, or the Sith Wayfinder, which is just a device that's going to help them find the Emperor. And they're having this lightsaber battle, and finally Kylo Ren's kicking Rey's butt, which he should kick her butt because he's been a trained Force user for years, and Rey is this newbie, and there's no reason she should just be able to match him. So he's kicking her butt, and he's about to kill her, and then all of a sudden, Leia uses all the power she has in the Force and projects her voice to him and says his name, and that stops him, and then Rey stabs him through, but then Rey force heals him like Baby Yoda did in The Mandalorian, which was awesome. And then she goes away, but then it continues, and Leia uses a manifestation of Han Solo in Ben Solo's mind, and we have this beautiful moment with Harrison Ford. And I gotta tell you, I cried at that moment, because anything with a parent and a child in a movie always gets me, because I lost my mom when I was 16. So just to imagine like her returning and talking to me and affirming me in my life, and to see Harrison Ford affirm as Han Solo, affirm Kylo Ren, Ben Solo, and the dialogue is beautiful. And they take what they said in The Force Awakens, and Kylo Ren's like, I don't know if I have the strength to do what I need to do, or something like that. And then it looks like he's about to say, I'm sorry, or I love you, to Han Solo. And Han Solo just stops him, and he says his classic, I know line, and he doesn't say it, and then he disappears. And then Kylo Ren turns back to the light side of the Force as Ben Solo. And then he does some pretty cool stuff in the end. Okay, so what I didn't like, the Force dyad. The Force dyad didn't make sense to me, and basically the Force dyad is that there are these two beings, but they're actually one being in the Force, but they're somehow split apart. Now, that would have made sense if they were Jedi Skywalker twins, but because of the multiple directors and what Rian Johnson did to be so subversive In the last one, we don't get that. So instead, we get Ben Solo and Rey as sort of lovers, but that never fully happens. But whatever, they're this dyad of the light and the dark side, and they're this one being, and it just didn't make sense to me. It would have been way better if they were Jedi twins, more specifically Skywalkers. And it also would have made sense why Luke Skywalker hid out for 30 or 40 years in The Last Jedi, because he knew that there was a Sith being who was like this vampiric being who wanted to suck the Force energy out of him and out of Rey, and that would have made sense why Luke knew about Rey and hid her away, and he hid himself, so that the Sith being couldn't get them and take their power and regenerate himself. Which goes to my other point, is that it should have been Darth Plagueis all along. I like that the Emperor was back, and I guess that makes sense a little bit, but it should have been Darth Plagueis all along, who was the Sith being who discovered resurrection and who taught it to Palpatine. So, and I think that's what J.J. Abrams intended originally anyhow, for it to be Darth Plagueis and for Rey and Ben Solo to be twins, or brother and sister at least. So it just would have made more sense, and it would have went smoother narratively if that's what they would have done, but alas, they didn't. Oh, and finally, what I really wanted to see, so I thought it was awesome. So we had been hearing all these hyped up leaks that Anakin Skywalker was going to be it, and all these cameos were going to happen. So in the end, the Emperor and Rey square off when she has her last bit of might left. And the Emperor's like, I have all the Sith inside of me. And Rey's like, I have the Jedi. And then she kind of hears the voices of Anakin Skywalker, Luke Skywalker, Ahsoka Tano from the Clone Wars Rebels cartoon show. We hear Qui-Gon Jinn. We hear Alec Guinness, Obi-Wan Kenobi. We hear Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan Kenobi. And it's great. But how cool would that have been when the Emperor and Rey are squaring off, and the Emperor's doing like a Hadouken with Force Lightning, and Rey does the classic, like, this is what Yoda did, blocks with the lightsaber, blocks the lightning. How cool would that have been if Anakin Skywalker, Luke Skywalker, Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Yoda would have manifested as Force ghosts and kind of helped push her to defeat the Emperor in that Force Lightning. I thought that would have been way cooler. But, yeah. That's not what happened. So she just, like, defeats him, and he, evaporates into smoke, which is normally what happens with movie bad guys these days. But anyhow, so I liked it. I didn't love it. Go see it. It's the end of Star Wars, maybe. At least we have The Mandalorian. At least we have the Obi-Wan Kenobi series that's coming. I've heard things that maybe there's going to be an episode 10. I don't know, but it was really enjoyable. Enjoyable enough for me to see twice. Maybe I'll see it a third time. But God bless you all, and Merry Christmas. Thank you.